tether or the cable that is sending down power and bringing back up video and all the other data.
So I think we're talking about moving Sirius westbound.
Or
getting D2 on the east side of Sirius. Sirius looks to the right.
A lot of discussion and monitoring going on in the background that you guys are.
The tether northwest.
You can see it now if the on camera 2, the serial speed. You can see what the tether.
Well, we're following along the top of this feature. We're kind of going to stay on the contour we're on for a while.
All right.
I believe is the plan.
To make like a short move at 300 to get me kind of back on top of that.
Yeah.
Kind of a deal. So I got my current heading. So let's do like a 20 meters at 300.
All right.
Yep.
All right. I'll call that and we'll see.
He'll stay on this ridge.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
20 meters, 300.
Sorry, Watch One. We're just working out a plan to get the tether comfortable here.
Bridge, does not.
But is there something you needed?
Bridge over.
While he calls in that move.
Next move is going to be 20 meters, 300,
Understood. 20 meters, bearing 300, speed decimal 2.
Okay, copy.
West is best. So Watch One was just communicating with the pilots about preferred.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, this is going to be much more comfortable, I think. It's blowing off the side of both vehicles as we
request
move north
direction
laterally.
Of the D2's travels. So we could potentially come across more coral colonies like
ROV nav bridge, move initiated, 20 meters, bearing 300, speed decimal 2.
In general, from my past experience diving in this, not exactly this area, but close by, the tops of the mounds are where you find most of the live coral, especially the scleractinian corals. So right now we're a little bit to the eastern edge of this mound, and we might see different corals there than we'll see at the crest or the top of the mound. So we want to try to see all of the habitats.
Don't want to get stretched out there too much. Okay.
And so we can get the best general sense of everything that's here.
Yeah, if we had any kind of heave today, this would be a lot more difficult.
Nice bamboo
but
coral,
it's nice
and
that
it looks
it's
like
pretty
much
small
growing
sea state.
or attached to almost the same spot of a rock over on the right. There's bamboo coral next to a black coral.
So why don't you turn to follow me here?
Okay.
Then it'll be blowing out to your side instead of in front of you. Yeah, there we go. That's what I like.
I like that too. Yeah, it'll naturally blow northwest.
Yep.
I think.
And then we're just kind of lateraling.
Sounds like
to
we're
the
tempting
north.
all of the coral biologists out there.
Oh yeah, this is much more comfortable.
Coming,
it is.
You know, hanging out in this particular spot and looking
and then
at
just
these
keep
two
an eye
giant
on the sonar
colonies.
to your starboard to make sure we're not too
They're
close to
trying
anything.
to maintain their self-control, but we're making it tough on them.
Okay, cool. All right, watch lead. We're much more comfortable now. So we have a move underway to bring us more north and west toward waypoint 4. So thanks for bearing with us.
Just to remind you guys, and forget who. Oh yeah, Rachel Bassett just noted this in the chat room. We've actually made only one collection so far today, and that was a Unicella colony, or part of a Unicella colony, I should say.
Actually, I think that we wound up taking that whole colony because it was very tiny. And we also got a scoop of the coral skeleton matrix that it was sitting on.
Ah, okay.
So it was a twofer. So we got the coral, and then we got the
Dan, have you ever seen this much layback before?
the coral
ROV
skeleton.
Not this
nav
shallow,
bridge
no.
We could look at that
You
as
could
well
see
as
that at
see
like
if there are any of those
2,000 meters or
ugly
3,000
alien
meters, but
that were
not
living
700.
on some of that
Okay,
dead skeleton.
co-pilot,
Okay.
that moves is complete.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry for the
So that was
misinformation.
330.
I haven't been watching all the
Um,
video. I've been working
and
on
you said
data in the
waypoint 4
background,
is
so I
335?
missed that
That is
collection.
correct.
Okay. So should we just do that, Levi?
Yeah.
Yep.
Except me.
All right,
That's
335.
basically exactly my starboard.
Okay.
Go ahead, watch 2.
Go ahead and zoom in video.
Stand by, I'll get back to you on that.
Hold that.
All right, calling 20 meters, 335.
Bridge. Okay, 20 meters at bearing 335, speed decimal 2.
All right, we'll get you a better shot of these polyps here, video. Try that. Go ahead and zoom in if you have it.
So you can see the slightly darker part of the skeletons. That's why we call these bamboo corals. When Scott, I think, was talking about the distance between that
ROV
nodes.
nav bridge move
For this
initiated.
particular colony, shorter than what he's typically observed. If I'm interpreting what you wrote earlier correctly, Scott.
You having fun in the current, Dan?
Yep. So watch lead. Yeah, you can just communicate whatever shot you need directly to pilot, and we'll work with video to try to get that for you.
No, it doesn't look like the urchin is actually that close to the.
Okay, go ahead and zoom in.
Oh, is it
Coral.
on this lower branch?
Like your lasers, or?
Okay,
Sure.
yeah, maybe there.
That's hard to tell. It's certainly not on the base, but it might
Lasers off.
be on that lower branch that's sort of going off to the left, but also towards us. That looks like it's doesn't have much tissue left on it.
Is Scott calling in?
Yeah, it sounds like he's
Yep.
planning
Hi,
to.
Cheryl. That's me. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi, Scott.
Earlier, I was wondering, if this urchin might actually be on that lower branch. I can't quite tell, but you can see the thickness of this colony at the base. It's huge.
It is.
The whole passage, the
You can
flat
come out a
part
little
and
bit,
the
video.
base of the skeleton. This has been here a long time, and it looks like it's had
Hold
multiple
that.
episodes of regrowth over the base and the stem. But Stephanie, you had observed earlier that there don't seem
Yeah, it's
to be
much more
many
comfortable.
associates on this
I
colony.
like our
and I agree,
configuration a lot more
it's,
now.
kind of
Much easier to
interesting.
fly.
And
Me too.
that isn't too surprising with some of the bamboo corals. I'm not sure if there's some secondary metabolite, some chemical in the tissue that is noxious or doesn't taste good to some of these organisms, but it's intriguing the position of this urchin. I can't
I'm
quite
starting to move.
tell if that's
Copy.
on a branch. The branch is broken and there's nothing on it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but he definitely could be munching on it if that branch continues underneath him.
Although you can kind of see
We'll try to
just
not change
beyond
my heading so that
the
way you
urchin
can
right
get
now,
a
it
feel
looks like
for
that
movement.
branch
Sure.
stops, and Scott, you're saying maybe it's been broken,
Yeah, I'm
but
exactly perpendicular to.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, in that colony, you
Go
can
ahead.
see there's somewhat different coloration of the tissue. It's a little bit more yellow-brown, and other places a little bit more white. And that, to me, is, and then it's kind of the lobular way you see the very base there. Looks to me like there's continual regrowth and redeposition of coral. I'll bet the coral and, the calcium carbonate that actually makes up the skeleton. And I'll bet it's been deposited over
No,
nodes. So
okay,
you can't see
I
the
see.
nodes and at the base of some of that.
Okay, so
You said earlier about the short interval, the short size of the internode, and I was remarking on that.
ROV nav bridge
With
move
this
complete.
particular species of keratoisis, that'll be informative. The genus itself is currently defined as just a planar bamboo coral that branches at the nodes, at the internodes, which this is, but the short interval of the internodes themselves tells us a little bit more. The other thing that's interesting, I said it was maybe the D clade, and I said that because we have made some collections from
Got
this
a little bit
depth
of time here.
in the general area a little bit further
Right.
north of here. And one of the ways that we could tell is if the polyps are retracted. All of these polyps are nicely extended
let's
in
come
their
out video.
position.
I'm
But
going
in the
to
D clade,
saddle
when they
over,
retract, the polyps take on the shape of a little volcano.
get into
That's
Sirius's
one of the
view.
ways we can tell in the video, but we're not going to get that right here. Thanks for the close-up.
The nice thing is now the current just kind of pushes me into your view.
Yeah. That's nice. Let me get some lasers on it.
Sure.
I think they're all.
Yeah.
There they are.
I'm going to back up a little bit. Any interest in the sponge? Watch lead. Okay.
So we just had an update from Nav. We're going to be leaving the bottom in about 3 hours and 10 minutes. And we've traveled about 200 meters since hitting the seafloor. We still have quite a ways to go on our 700-meter transect, so I guess we'll want to be moving along after taking
Now, how
a
many
look
waypoints
at this
do we have today?
beautiful glass sponge here.
That is 4.
Quattro?
Yep.
Copy that. Didn't know if there was a fifth one hiding.
Now, if we reach the top, they just want us to go
And
back and
Scott
forth.
was wondering if this
Traverse.
might be a
Yep.
Euplectellidae glass sponge.
Do you want to see
Go ahead and
the
turn off
ship
lasers.
on high pack?
Okay.
And Chris Kelly says it might be
Lasers off.
Vrigadrella.
Okay, when you're ready, video, you can zoom.
And lots of cutthroat eels here. Wow, that's a beautiful sponge.
Looks like another Sedaris pencil urchin at its base, all
And
the way
maybe
down.
a crinoid on the side. Oh, and we've got a little squat lobster at the base. That might be a Munida. Squat lobster galatheid. And another crinoid at the base. Looks like at least 3 crinoids on this glass sponge.
Yeah, I thought there was I was mistaking that crinoid for a Sedaris. Looks like it had spines.
Okay, let's go ahead and come out.
And Chuck Messing asked in the chat room if anybody could offer the state of the science about why such
Let's go full
corals
wide.
are sparsely distributed. Is it limited dispersal of larvae, or is it settlement
What's up, Bob?
success? Is it widespread mortality of smaller colonies, or anything else? I think that all of those things probably contribute at more or less at different places and for different species. And I don't know if that is really known.
Any interest in this?
It's beautiful. Black coral.
Pilot, if we could just take a quick look, but then we probably need to keep moving along because we have a long ways to go before the end of the dive.
What's our average pace need to be, Fernando?
Yeah, it's 0.02.
So this
Point
is
02
Liopathes
needs to be our average pace.
CF
Yeah, to get to the
glaberina,
top.
most likely.
So-
Okay, to waypoint 4.
Yep.
Okay, might want to communicate
Yep.
that we have plenty of time here to take a look and sample if they want. Okay.
Watch lead, this is Nav.
Go ahead and come out video.
Go ahead, Nav.
Sorry, Bob, you're real quiet. Oh, really?
Pilot, could we zoom into the substrate here a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I see some of what you're talking about, Bob. I'm going to saddle over, see the sponge and the substrate. Yeah, I think I see a few of them here too, right? Yeah. Okay.
So have we been able to get a look at the white coral that's behind this one yet?
Okay, go ahead and zoom in. Oop. There we go. No, I'm settled. Of course, I'm just kicking up dust now. Come out.
Thanks.
We'll get a better view.
I'd like to get a piece of this and maybe some of the sediment in one thing if we can.
Piece of rock?
Yeah. It looks like it would be easily nudged and broken.
We also want to take a look at that coral
Back.
on that
The coral,
other
yeah.
rock
Just
there
over another
whenever we can.
specimen.
Oh, there's another Liopathes. Lots of cutthroat eels here.
On my toes now.
This might
Yeah,
be a good
maybe
place to see
between
if
your
the
toes.
rock is loose or can be broken.
Don't want to crush it.
I feel like you're an oversized vehicle parking in a.
I'm surprised to see it here
Compact
after
foot.
all the
Yep.
coral rubble
Should be
we've
better
seen.
here.
And I'm wondering if this
Dust
is
will be
just
blown away.
cemented together with
My toe,
the sediments infilling between them. I can't really tell.
Try to get you
So
some
the coral
tether,
matrix
smidge.
Okay.
and then filled in with
Filled in
sediment.
with
Stationary
sediment,
strip
and then
stop,
that
so-
sediment
Copy.
got
Help us out.
compacted. It doesn't look very lithified. But I can't tell.
All right, let's try this. We got coral, sponge, and sediment and substrate here. Go ahead and zoom in. Hold that.
That actually might be Lophelia.
Yeah, definitely not nocticoral.
Right.
Go ahead and zoom in more.
It's hard to tell from far away.
Yep, that's why it's great to have such fantastic videos.
You're correct.
Is there any interest in a sample, or you just need the visual ID?
Just the visual ID.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of samples of Lophelia around here.
Yeah.
Okay,
so-
go ahead and come out.
Pilot, if you could nudge a rock nearby after we
Sure.
zoom out and see if
Let's go
there's
and zoom
something
in on
loose
this
we
real
can
quick.
grab.
Except I'm not totally positive that is Lophelia. When I look at this
ROV nav
branch
bridge,
to the
just
bottom
wanted to
left,
confirm that I passed
gives
you
you a
that
better
we are,
idea of the
stationary at this
Kayla
time.
structure, and it looks a little bit more like an Elipsamia. And those are cup corals there, most likely, or maybe they're anemones.
Yeah, thank you.
Those are anemones in the center.
Okay, when you're clear video, we can come out. So I heard you're looking for a rock, Leslie. What are you looking for in your sample? Watch lead, did you copy?
I think there's a large coral underneath us. So.
Did you copy watch lead?
Oh, I didn't hear.
I overheard you talking about wanting a rock sample, and I'm just curious what you're looking for. If you look in the Sirius view, you can see that there's quite a few rocks poking through.
I did change my heading slightly to port.
That's fine, yeah.
Just let you know.
Thanks.
Yeah, this view gives you an idea that maybe these are the layers beneath the top of the mound poking out. And we're really curious to see what they are made
down on
of.
the bottom left.
Yeah, a piece on the bottom left, pilot, that'd be great if it's loose. I'm thinking that this might just be sort of cemented together coral rubble, but it's hard to say.
Okay, can we come full wide video, including the skids? Okay, thank you.
There might even be a little cup coral on that
I
rock,
think
which
we
would be a
might get
bonus.
some associates.
Looking to sample one of these.
Oh, it looks like there might be a little
What's up?
bathypathes on the
sample
rock
one of
with the
Yeah.
two
Understood.
liopathes right in front of the rock we're looking
Let's see
to
if we can
collect.
preserve these. So
Yeah,
is
here
this,
in the chat room,
is this
Chuck
something
Messick
then
has
you're
raised this
thinking about
question
putting in the
before
bio box
about,
if we want to keep the
what sort of
associates
research
intact?
has been done on why we see this interesting and sparse distribution of coral colonies in some place. So as we were zooming in here, you can see that there are these two large laopathes, and now we see there's a bathypathes,
We have
but
lasers on.
nothing else in the immediate area. And so we wouldn't say that the environment changes over that scale. So it has to be something else, and it could be the luck
Port-
of the
port
draw,
outer
where
is
the
the only
larvae land,
sample so far.
and how stable is the substrate there,
I'm not sure if it's floaty
how
or not.
fast are the currents, how much food, and so on. But interesting pattern. Let's
Yeah.
go to collect the rock here.
Yeah, I don't have any notes.
Yeah, and I guess
about
it could
things
be
floating.
whether there's any predators in the area that might eat the larvae and or the young corals as they grow too. So many things have to be exactly right for the coral to live to an older age. And each species, it could be a slightly different set of conditions that it requires.
Can you please hit joy lock, Copilot?
Yeah.
So, do we just have the one biologic
Dog's
sample
going
at
up.
this point?
Thanks.
Hydraulics up.
She's talking to you.
Go ahead, watch lead. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a good scoop specimen. I don't think this is going to be a great.
Hi, this is Zach Brew in Charleston.
Get the
Sorry,
bumper.
my chat keeps disconnecting.
I can draw it here
But is
now.
that a C-pen in the frame?
Not
Does
sure.
anybody know?
I think you probably can.
I think it might
if
be
you wing inboard
the black corals,
with the
Zach,
starboard
maybe,
wing.
Yeah, you trying to go
the genus
Firebox,
Parentapathes
trying to
or
go,
something like
Let's
it.
see if it's loose and how big it is, and then we'll.
Upper part of the screen.
Understood.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I was
Thank you.
thinking too, yeah. As soon as we get done with this
Force
rock
feedback
collection,
on.
we will zoom on both of these black corals that are in this area here.
Pots are stable.
Grip force 11.
We may kick up a little dust in the
The
meantime,
hydraulics
but
up?
it'll quickly be whisked away by the current.
Got the
Twitch.
RPMs at about 90%. 80%.
Copy. Grip force 3. Force feedback 3. Okay. All right.
You want mini Zeus over here?
Sure. Yeah. And Fernando, if you could keep an eye on Sirius and your camera there, that'd be great.
I got your mini Zeus.
Okay. So let's start just by giving it a little tap. Okay, that's a good size.
That's going to have to be probably starboard outer, because it's a larger, I think. I don't know if it'll fit in a smaller
I
bio.
suspect this might crumble a little bit, but we'll find out.
So you're interested in putting this in a bio box if it'll fit?
No, I don't think we need the bio box with it unless we have the sediment. So
Okay.
I think this can go in the smaller rock box.
Or okay, and okay, we might lose the associates if we put it in the,
Yeah.
in the rock box, but just want to confirm that's okay.
That's what do you think, Cheryl?
I think that those associates will most likely stay on the
Okay.
rock.
All right.
So
I'm going to do quarter starboard.
We'll just do.
But we don't want to use a bio box at this point.
that's what I'm
yeah.
thinking. Is
Yeah.
that it's also
we
quite
can just
large
do.
for a bio box, maybe.
Might
We
be.
can do
Yeah.
starboard. That's fine.
You want me to bring it inboard?
Yes, please.
I'll leave it there so you still have a view.
Thanks. Since we think this is fragile, I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the box.
Okay. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, as opposed to turning and all that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, we've got a good view of it.
Slowly crushing it with the jaw.
Nice. Is that minute can? Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you, pilot. So we have sample number 2, geo. It's our first geologic sample of the day, but it's specimen number 2.
Pilot, this is watch 1.
Go ahead, watch one.
If we could get a zoom on the little feathery coral that's straight ahead of where you collected the rock.
Sure.
When you're settled.
Absolutely.
Bridge, this now.
RV nav, bridge.
Just wanted to call and change the bailout plan. Let's do bailout to east.
Okay, we'll go check out that coral up ahead.
RV nav, bridge.
Roger that, thanks.
Affirmative. Changing bailout plan to east.
Copy that. Okay, Levi, let me know when you want the next move.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta get back on course. Need a few minutes after this.
Yeah, I looked to port a little bit, so we'll...
Roger that. If we can just zoom this and then the feathery coral to the right of that when we're done, and then we'll
Okay,
be
go ahead
all
and zoom
set.
in. Hold that. Go ahead and zoom in tighter.
You can really see the current ripping through there. So is this the Paraanthropathes that we were seeing the other day? Or Scott France said it might be Heteropathes.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're seeing a heteropathes on its edge on the side.
Yeah.
So basically, if we saw it in the planar view, it would look like a bathypathes, except that it's got this additional row of short branches coming out the front face.
Right, yeah, it looks different from further away. You can see that now that we're close.
Yeah, that's another trick sometimes. If you don't realize the orientation you have to some of these things, that they can fool you. But excellent close-up, thank you.
Yeah, sure is.
Okay, and you said there's another one to the right?
Yes, pilot, it's a reddish one to the right. It's a similar shape but larger. There we go.
Okay. Okay, go ahead and do a zoom from here. Just do an ID and then we'll move on. Hold that.
Great.
So this one looks like a bathypathes. It does not have those extra layer of short pinnules that are arising from the front face, the face that we can't see where all the polyps are.
Let's get straightened back out here, Levi.
Great.
Understood.
So 2 black coral species, about a meter or two apart from each other. And we have quite a few liopathes here in this area as well. So this particular spot is a very good one for black corals. And another
Turning to starboard a little bit here.
Get
back where we were.
To the left there.
So now we're maybe getting into the bottom of this little valley here.
Yeah.
We'll start climbing up the other side. So we could probably go ahead and think about a move.
Waypoint 4 selected right now.
Yeah.
Bearing is 341.
341. Should we just go ahead and head straight there?
I think so.
Okay. I'll come back toward you a bit.
And as we've seen earlier, in the low areas between the high points of the mounds, we see almost no coral
we'll
growth,
go ahead and do 20.
modern coral growth. There's plenty of older coral rubble, and we see a much more consistent sediment cover here.
Okay. I'll come back to you.
Kind of indicating that
yeah, sure. Okay.
it might be that it's protected by these coral mounds, and sediments are able to deposit a little more easily.
Yeah. So it's hard substrate, but it's not very steep.
And if the coral rubble's covered up, that means there's less habitat for the live coral.
ROV nav, bridge.
We're swinging around and making our way towards waypoint 4.
340 at.
I think you could come up. Is it back to you?
Okay. Sounds great.
Yeah, I don't like this because now the tether's going to be blowing into the slope.
Yeah, so Tina has pointed out that heteropathes hasn't been reported from this area yet, and that this could be a new species.
Yeah.
ROV nav bridge, move initiated.
Cover bridge.
I think we've moved on now, but if we see another
Yeah.
one, we should definitely
Why don't
collect that.
Or you just swing to starboard.
Okay.
Do that number.
See another of the
Okay. Why don't you come up and I'll
pancake
back under
urchins
you?
in the foreground, just right of center.
So we're just getting, we got to set up here a little better watch lead with the current and the tether. So just give us a few minutes while we do that.
Roger that.
Let's go ahead and stop the move. Let's stop it. Sorry, this is not going to work.
This is nav.
ROV nav bridge. Stopping move.
Back into you. Yeah. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna. So basically, it's blowing right upslope, right?
It's blowing westbound now.
Right. Yep.
So we could both turn to starboard.
Yep. Why don't you come up to like 20 meters delta,
Okay.
so that we're a little safer here.
Yeah.
And I'll just come right under you, and we'll get situated here.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like another bamboo coral up on the right. The ROV pilots are trying to set up for another move
right.
here and getting positioned with the ship and the current, so we're going to just hang out for a little bit before we get underway again.
Yeah, you have to remember that even though we are being influenced by the current, the ship
Turn
above
starboard.
us, and to which we are tethered,
Just
is
stand by.
experiencing
How's it tethered
much
by that
stronger
corner?
currents
It's above
of the
you.
Gulf Stream.
Okay.
So
I can
we are
haul if
being
you'd like.
Sure.
pulled onward at times.
Okay.
Ah, this is quite steep.
Yeah, it's very steep.
Yeah,
So
it's
this
above
is
you.
probably
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, it's out of your
around to
pole
the
lights.
east side
Okay.
of that mound, maybe a little bit, and we're going up the steeper side.
Yeah, so what happened, Watchlead, is we were moving kind of laterally with the current, and we were going downslope, which was great for our configuration, but now we're going to be going upslope, up to the other peak, and which means the tether was actually blowing into the slope we were climbing. So we got to kind of get reoriented so that that doesn't happen.
Okay, great.
So we'll be back with you shortly.
All right, so I'm
And
headed
for those
towards
watching,
waypoint
we are
I think-
now.
managing the tether
So
and
you
how
wanna-
it is going to
Are you sure it's above you?
making
Yeah,
sure
I
it
saw the
doesn't
shadow at one
interact
point.
with this feature that we're going to climb up. So just a little repositioning here.
Yeah.
You sure?
You can see that
Should
the
be,
rubble
See how
is
steep that
almost
is right
totally
there?
covering this,
Yeah.
this steep face here on this mound.
blowing off to my port.
Yep.
As Leslie has pointed out, when we're kind of in
Hauling in
between
just
the
a little bit.
mounds,
Okay.
Delta
it's
to
more
20.
sedimented and not as much rubble cover. And then when we start getting towards the slopes, steeper
Okay,
slopes,
yeah, there we can
towards
see
the
it,
top
yeah.
of the mounds for sure, we see a lot more rubble and or corals. A little bit of live coral, and then a lot of dead coral substrate fragments that cover the seafloor.
So you're 20 meters. Okay.
$100%.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of current.
Yes, there is.
There you go. It'll go. Yeah. Bring it around. Then you can push ahead.
Yep. I gotta like adjust my compensation for the current.
Yeah.
Pushing ahead. And now it's blowing out behind me.
And for anybody just joining us, we've been.
That's
we
much
expected
better.
that this might be. We might see
Take two
more
of our,
Lophelia, the
that?
Take
sclerotinian
their
coral
spare Parker
Lophelia
motors and
protusa,
just
but
Yeah.
we've
throw
actually
an additional
seen
motor
more
on there.
Analopsamia
Get a
profunda
little more power.
as the dominant
Actually, I don't think we have
sclerotinian
any
coral
shrouds
down here. It has been some Lophelia
We
though,
might have a
so it's a
shroud.
mix.
Okay. I'm just gonna push ahead a little bit, and we'll get set up to come back down. This is tough. Very difficult.
Yeah. It's a good one here.
There we go. Okay, I'm going to come back down.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Now we should be set. And we're basically facing toward waypoint 4 now.
Yeah.
340, you said?
Yeah. 335.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, 338.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Coming down.
Coming down with you.
Now you can see some more sponges and...
So as difficult as I had to turn my head and then like adjust my compensation for the current as I turned. Because you had to keep like 80% thrust in the direction toward the current.
You gotta like take the stick and bring it swinging around.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty tough. We're looking good now.
Interestingly, earlier we were talking about the question that Chuck had raised about why there
we go.
Only a
Great.
few colonies we're seeing, but certainly
Okay.
lots of stuff that has been growing
So,
in the past.
Levi, why don't we swap?
Dead now.
Now that we're set up.
The question is, why are the ones that survived? Why are they the survivors?
And what caused so many to die without regrowth of organisms? I mean, this was much more abundant environment, it seems.
It's an Auto XY.
Yeah, I can't tell from this view if a lot of the rubble that we're seeing is old bamboo coral or if it's old Lophelia or something. Actually, a nice view here of the two different kinds of bamboo coral I was referring to. There's the thin, wispy one that's now on the right side of the screen. It's kind of hard to see. And then there's that one with the thick skeleton that has the short internodes. So that's the difference between the keratoisis D-clade, the one that's on the left, and the thin, wispy one is probably the S-clade cladoisis.
So I'm going to come up in altitude a bit.
Wow, this is an impressive mound here.
Back toward me. The current's
and I would say from the views that we've had, the majority of the rubble is more of the scleractinian framework, and we've been seeing both Lophelia and Analopsamia. Maybe when we get to the top of this mound, it will be more Lophelia and less Analopsamia, but the lower mounds were more of the Analopsamia profunda, which wasn't really what we were expecting. We were expecting these to be all Lophelia or just a little bit of Analopsamia.
Come down and back up a little bit, and then we'll get a move in toward you.
If we saw corals at all. So basically, starting from the beginning, we didn't even know if these would be coral mounds, but we've been very pleasantly surprised that
we can go and do like 20 meters toward 340.
Coral mounds.
And sponge. Look at all those sponges.
Bridge doesn't have.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the steepest face that we have seen. It is basically southward facing, so it's taking advantage of the Gulf Stream's flow. You can see how some of those sponges are like satellite dishes. We've seen similar sponges to that. I don't know if it's the same species at different locations at greater depths.
I think it was Fichelia was the species we were seeing in much deeper water.
Sit up real nice.
Scott Harris has this interesting question, observation in the chat room about has anyone dated the piles of rubble and obtained some type of distribution of ages for the dead corals out here? And what I find interesting about that is that, it's possible that a lot of these skeletons, maybe they're 1,000 years old, and we're seeing that there was a period in the past where the conditions weren't good for growth, things died, and then maybe in the last 100, 200 years, conditions improved, and now we're getting regrowth on the old rubble. And it's hard to know that without getting some sense of the age of the skeleton.
Yeah, and it would be very interesting to core through this mound and be able to look at the layers and how things have changed over time and maybe get some dating. And I think that Eric Cortez was involved.
Pilot, can we take a quick zoom, please?
Absolutely.
In some similar research
What would you
in the
like to
Gulf
zoom
of
in on?
Mexico.
There's quite a few objects here. Video to zoom in. Just a little bit. Partial. Hold that. Watch they do something specific.
Look at all the sponges. We have a few Anthomastus, the red.
I guess we'll just hold this here.
Octocorals.
I'd like to get a look when you have a chance at the yellow one that's on the far left. May be a Canthogorgia.
Okay, great.
Unless you've seen it earlier today.
Pilot, this is watch one.
Go ahead, watch one.
There's a feathery yellow coral just left of center. If we could get a zoom on that whenever you have time.
Yep. Okay,
you
videos.
just said it, Cheryl, feathery.
I think this is what they're talking about.
I wonder if it's a hydrozoa.
It's a floating shot, so.
It's very feathery. Yeah, I would say it's a hydrozoa.
Or a black coral. I'm going to stop guessing now until we see it.
And it's looking like
Barnacles?
that could be Lophelia too. Didn't get a good look at it yet.
All right, come on, partial video.
Yeah, that looks more like Lophelia. So this might be the Lophelia zone we're entering now. And Chuck Messing
Yellow,
pointed
I
out
would
that...
say, is a hydrozoan. Thanks for that close-up. Clearly a pretty good current moving through there.
Yeah. Wow, there's so much.
So, Cheryl, you're talking about the white stony coral as Lophelia.
Yeah, I think that might be Lophelia there instead of the Analipsamia.
That's a nice view. You can definitely see the populations increasing compared to what we have been seeing in the last hour or so.
That's what we've seen in the
Understood.
past with these types of mounds, is that down low on the mound there will be more dead coral, and as you move up there'll be more and more live coverage. And you get to about 50% or so at least live coverage when you get to the top of a mound.
Watch your swing arm on the port side.
Watch that. Okay, Copot, take my rotator.
You got it.
And that was something that Chuck Messing was
I'm
pointing
rotate
out also,
to
that
starboard,
he was noticing
or
that there's
forward a
more
little
live
bit.
coral as we move up slope.
Can rotate up.
Rotating up.
And it looks like there might be a Stylaster coral on the dead matrix to the top left of the view now.
Come in video. Rotator up.
This community seems different from the first mound that we looked at, that was deeper, less relief to it, lower current.
Yeah, this
It's
seems
almost though they're stratified by the water flow that's reaching them, and maybe the current speeds.
Yeah, that's definitely Lophelia. And yeah, I wonder if that's a difference between those two stony corals too.
Brittle star tucked away.
We have a hydroid and an octocoral on the right side.
And lots of little brittle stars too, if you look closely. There's one large one. Maybe that's the parent, maybe. It is a nursery. I think Nolan had suggested that, somebody had.
One of you've talked about it before, but one of the huge values of finding these sorts of reefs is there must be just thousands and thousands of small invertebrates tucked into the crevices here that we can't see. So this is a home to just a massive diversity and density of organisms.
Yeah, just as shallow reefs, the tropical coral reefs that people are more familiar with, that same type of habitat is created in the deep, and so
Okay, video
much
when you're cleared, come out partial.
Makes these kinds
See if we see anything else in this field.
Copy bridge, move complete.
You can see the red Anthomastus
Let's go ahead and do another 20 meters.
octocorals, several of them here.
Copy that.
And that Stylaster coral on the left, the lace coral, and then the bamboo coral on the lower left as well, and kind of
Bobby?
just to the right.
Levi?
You got my rotator.
Unima?
To the right, to the left, to the center, to the bottom.
Oh my goodness.
Let's,
there's just overwhelming
go for that
what's here.
sponge. Can you zoom in video, please?
Impossible to even talk about all of it. 3 or 4 different sponges at least.
This is like 2 days ago we were saying it looked like a setup in an aquarium that you would go visit, where they just stick everything they have in one window.
Roger that. 20
Just
meters.
amazing.
All stop trinoids in the back as well.
Decimal 2 knots over.
Chuck Messing, do you see those?
It was really small.
Okay. I haven't been able to see them yet, but there's so much to look at.
Yeah, in fact, it was so small that it could have been a juvenile comatulate, meaning it would break free from the stock later.
Okay, watch lead. Did you see anything else in the field of view you'd like a closer zoom on?
No, that's great. Thank you, pilot.
Yeah.
We're going to zoom out and then continue up the slope,
Thanks,
because
Bobby.
it looks like this kind of habitat just continues as we move up. Looks like lots more little tufts of Lophelia as we
Co-pilot, we
will
just
traverse
started moving 20 meters,
upslope.
bearing 340.
20
And
meters,
we are
340.
now
All right.
at about 716 meters
What's our layback looking?
depth.
So we've only
It's
risen
around
about 20 meters
from
since the
A-frame.
beginning of the dive. And
150
we've
is the
crossed,
best we've
what,
had all day.
300 meters at
Yeah,
this
we
point?
were 190
Close to 300 meters.
morning
Yeah.
shift, or second shift.
So our predicted,
At best, we
our original dive track was a little over 650 meters long. We had to start a little farther into the planned track due to currents. So that cut the total distance down to maybe 500 meters. And we started at the top of a small mound, went across that, dipped down slightly, and went up and over the second mound, and now we're climbing the largest and steepest of the 3 mounds. And these mounds are representative, we think, of a huge area referred to as the Stetson Mesa.
And Chip Collier pointed out that they've been calling this the Million Mounds area.
Million Mounds, yeah.
So we've clicked off 2 of the million.
Yep. We got a long way to go. Maybe we can justify lots of funding to do this for a long time. I'd be happy to volunteer.
Me too. And hopefully we'll be back in other research expeditions.
Camera at
The
30
Deep
degrees,
Search has
11 meter delta.
several cruises coming up in the next 2 years where we'll be visiting some
Copy
of these
that.
areas.
And tomorrow's dive is farther north on the northwestern corner of this feature, the Stetson Mesa. Shallower depths. I think we're more in the range of 400 meters tomorrow. But mounds to ridges, and maybe those ridges are made of coalescing
Did you come in
mounds.
partial?
We'll find out, we hope.
This is so exciting because these million mounds have been such a mystery for a long time. We've known that the bottom looks this way, but we didn't know exactly what was here. We expected that it might be corals that have made these mounds over many, many hundreds of years. And this is great to actually ground truth this and see that that might be true for at least some of them.
Sure.
And the soft coral in the center of your screen now is Duva floridana, or Duda florida.
Appropriately named. We're off the coast of Florida.
Off the coast of North Florida. Then we have a stylaster lace coral right behind that. Looks like we might have a little squat lobster in the sponge in the upper left.
Okay, video, when you're clear, we can come on. I'll keep moving here.
I don't know if you described this earlier, Cheryl, but since you have the soft coral there, it's worth noting this is also an octocoral, so directly related to the bamboo coral, the white bamboo coral you're seeing on either side of it. And yet, the soft corals are so named because they lack that internal calcareous skeleton. Instead, they're kind of inflated with water, but they can also deflate. And so as a defensive mechanism, they can basically lose the water from the inside of the main stem and get really small.
We actually saw that earlier, one of them that had lost all its water, and we were stumped about what it was. And then we zoomed in and we could tell by the color that it looked like it was an octocoral that had just sucked in all of its tentacles. So yeah, that's really interesting. Lots of little bamboo corals here.
Starting to look like donuts to me.
Uh-oh, we might be tempted for a collection.
RV nav bridge, move complete. Over.
So maybe the next time we
Copy,
see one of these
Bryce.
soft
Move
corals,
complete.
there's been a request to collect one. And I don't know if Scott, if you're feeling like one of these bamboos might be something you'd want to collect, we can look at that too.
So we're
Well, the
position
reason
for
I said that,
collection.
I was saying
Ship
it
is
only
stopped
half
and we're in a good
jokingly,
position, so
was in the last close-up I was
take
looking
a
at it
pic.
carefully, and it's one of these colonies where some of the branches appear to be coming out of a node, and some of the branches appear to be coming out just past at the internode. And that makes it really confusing, especially if you see both of those on the same colony.
Talking about the white
So I
fans,
noted
tile
that
sponge,
there
is that
have
correct?
been some
so.
collections in this general area of 2 kinds of bamboo corals previously, between about 450 and 670 meters depth. But I don't have the in situ images for them. And Cheryl, as I know you know, there's a big difference between identifying something under a microscope and identifying something from the video.
Right.
So to make that connection, sometimes we have to make a collection of something that we have the really good imagery of, so that later we can cross-reference that.
That's right. Pilot, this is Watch 1.
Go ahead, Watch 1.
There's a soft coral on the lower left that we just passed over. I wonder if there's a chance that it might be a possible collection.
Yeah. If it comes in the field of view, let me know.
There it is on the lower left, kind of more center now.
Okay.
Right above the white Lophelia.
Right here? Oh, the larger one or the...
No, the smaller one, that pinkish.
Oh, okay. It's right in the center right now?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a tough spot,
Yeah.
so if you'd rather move on, we can look for another.
No, I think it's a doable location. It's pretty small, I think.
That wouldn't matter if it's small is fine. But if that's harder, we can move on and look for another. We've seen several, so...
Okay.
I'm wondering if the orangish coral is actually our first madrepora that we've seen so far.
Great lasers, see how big this is.
Lasers on. Maybe.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit less coral down here. I may be able to reach up and grab that. You know what I mean?
Is the tether coming straight up, or is it...
If those of you watching
to
want to
the
see
west?
the orientation of the ROV, switch over to camera 2, and you can see the view from Sirius, which is the partner ROV that is above the Deep
All right,
Discoverer.
Dan, can you hit my joy lock?
And you can see that we are at the edge of a very steep mound as he positions, as the pilot positions D2 for this collection.
They're too far away.
See that one up there?
Yeah. Can I take my camera on your screen?
Yeah, go for it. It's going to be...
I didn't try to... Yeah, I think it's too far away.
Yeah, that's way too far.
Right? Okay, watch lead. I can't really get into a good position to grab this particular subject, but I can keep an eye out for these, and if I see one that's in a better position, we can go for it.
Roger that, pilot. Thanks for trying.
Yeah.
So we tried to see whether we could get to that Duva, Florida, that was right in the middle of the screen there, but it's a little bit out of our reach. So we're going to continue on and look for another one. And we'll also keep our eye out for more Anthomastus. We saw a couple here, but again, if he couldn't reach that one, he's not going to be able to reach the Anthomastus. We're on a very steep slope here.
Yeah, watch lead. We're just the reason that's such a difficult one is because there's so much life here. We don't want to end up crushing other creatures to set up to try to grab the sample. So we're trying to be very mindful of that. So we'll keep an eye out for one that's a little more accessible.
Roger that. Thank you. Yeah, so they didn't want to crush other corals trying to collect the one that we wanted. So it's definitely what we need to do is only collect where we're not going to destroy other habitat. It looks like there might be one more on the left coming up here. That might be a little bit easier to get to. We'll let the pilot.
Less damaging here.
Lots of sponges here.
Tracking is really good today.
Yeah.